speaking of, building relationships, we talked about building relationships with your own audience, but as far as industry connections, because I know that you said that helped you a lot, like even the example that you gave earlier of Tyler introducing you to the people at Social Media Examiner, which has led to many collaborations with them. How do you go about creating authentic, non-transactional relationships within your industry, especially maybe thinking from the perspective of people who are listening to the show who may feel imposter syndrome, like maybe think back to who you were like years ago when you're like, why would these people like even bother to talk to me, right? Like, how do you approach those conversations? What's that first step that you can take to introduce yourself to someone without coming across, I guess transactional or pushy in any sort of way?
Absolutely. And I feel like it kind of reminds me of how I started my relationship with Later is I just started like engaging like I would normally do, which I know sounds so simple. But I just put them on my radar and I was consistently engaging with them. I was sharing about them. I was tagging them. So I feel like the same thing applies to people that you want to have those deeper relationships and connections with. Watch their stories and reply authentically, of course. Go to their content and hype them up. I think we underestimate when like someone's little username and photo is consistently popping up in the DMs and comments, like you start to note and remember that person. And you may even head over to their Instagram page and follow them and build that relationship. So that's always the first step. And I think if I already have maybe a common ground, like maybe someone that we have interrelated to, or maybe I'm just really familiar with something that they do and really enjoy, I will just tell them. Like an example that I can think of is the app Life Lapse. It's a stop motion app and it was really popular at the time. It was actually being shared by brands like Later, and I was using it as a social media manager. And I was really small at that time and they were, a pretty big app. And I just remember I really like this app. I just like want to tell them that I really like this app. So I just messaged them and I was like, I love this app. And the founder, Sarah, responded and she was like, hey, I love that you love this app. I would love to collaborate eventually. And like, we've been friends for years since then.
Wow.
So I think it just shows how like, just simply like being kind and being thoughtful with how we are interacting with people is really important. And just thinking of ways of how you can maybe share the stage, even if you feel like your audience is so small. I know even now that never deters me from going live with someone or collaborating with someone on a project ever. If you have a really engaged community and your content is amazing and you are serving value, that is almost even more invaluable than going to someone that has a bigger audience, right? So I think often we think because we're smaller that people won't want to be in the same room with us, but I think that's often the contrary. So I used to do a live series where I'd ask people to come live with me, and people love doing that. And I feel like that's such a great way. It gets in front of both audiences. You're getting in front of a new audience. So those are just a few ways that I was just like, I'd go live with people, I'd DM them, I'd comment on their stuff and follow and just like hype them up. That was pretty much it.
I am such a fan of simplicity. So these tips resonate with me so much. Takeaway number 3 for you listeners who are taking notes right now, I think, is to not underestimate the power of gratitude. Exactly what Natasha said. I mean, I have felt that on my side as a creator, as a business owner. There are thousands of people, right, who have listened to our podcast over its lifetime. And I could probably list on one document the number of people who have actually taken the time to reach out via DM and say, I listened to this episode today and it really resonated with me. Here's why. Thank you for producing this content. One tiny interaction, that one just extra step to share gratitude, it makes such a difference. I remember those people. I remember the people who are always showing up in the comments. I remember the people who tag us and share us in their stories. And you never know how you expressing your gratitude to someone, even if it doesn't lead to anything in that moment, how it might bring you back top of mind for an aligned opportunity down the road. So I think that's my homework assignment to you listeners today is like, take one moment today and think of a person, a brand, a company that has had a positive impact on your life, and just take 30 seconds today to send them a DM and tell them, hey, this is what's resonating with me. Thank you for the work that you're putting out into the world. And, maybe share it to your own audience and just see where a tiny step like that can lead you if you consistently do it. So thank you for that reminder, Natasha. I think I really needed to hear that today too.